Today's show is brought to you by StreamTech Drift Boats, the world's most versatile drift boat. Find them at www.streamtechboats.com. I kind of feel bad for these people, but at the same time I don't because they're stupid.
Don't see a circle around yourself, just start pissing everywhere.
Oh, I hate the Dutch.
Welcome to our country. So.
She doesn't really look Canadian. She looks almost American.
Just insulted all of Canada.
Oh, every time I say something up, then you got If I had known that before, I would have just interspaced every other sentence with something horrible.
Well, I haven't felt my feet since I sat down in the chair.
Can you see your feet, though?
No. I'd rather do anything else on the planet than go tip a cow over.
How about Canada? Is there any stream access issues up in Canada?
Nobody cares.
Not very much.
Kids, if you don't understand that joke, ask your parents.
Evan, Derek?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Here it comes.
Your flies are open.
Thanks.
Grab hold of your flies. This is a podcast for nymphers, strippers, swingers, and dry fly guys. It's the show that brings you stories, instruction, and conservation from three guys who live it every day. This is The Open Fly.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are back from break.
Where'd we go?
Not that again. But thank you guys for coming down last minute. I think we literally decided we were doing this show about half hour ago. Well, we decided to do it a couple days ago, and then we thought we weren't doing it, and then we found out half hour ago that we are doing it. So then everybody dropped everything they were doing and headed over.
Yeah, that's the kind of dedication we have.
Yep, we are.
For our listening audience.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pleasant drive up the valley.
Yeah? No, you came down the valley. You were up. You were up, and now you're down.
Well, he's heading north.
I'm heading north. That's up.
Oh.
But downstream.
Correct. And downhill.
You were just following the...
Flat.
Following
I think I
the
probably
current.
gained a little bit of elevation, actually, probably getting up here into the hills of Duval.
Yeah. Well...
It's my favorite road because the speed limit is very clearly posted at 55 miles an hour. People love to go about 47.
Well, between Carnation and Duval, it's 50, and people like to go 40.
Yeah, I do that
just
drive
time
every
for
day.
Western law, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Just take
Yep.
shit into your own hands.
Exactly.
Tired of it.
Well, thank you again for coming down last minute. I'm sure the guys down in Nevada and California will thank you. Kirk, we pulled you away from your anniversary day, so...
Yeah, big day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't see the helmet.
No, those helmets were actually have been retired.
There's helmets?
We had honeymoon helmets.
Nice helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always safety.
25 years.
That's something to be certainly respected, Kirk.
Yeah.
Got to be safe.
Safe.
And wear
it's
a
all
helmet.
about safety. My wife is a safety commissioner at her office.
Oh, that's the helmet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's all about the safety.
I'm glad you guys are safe on your anniversary.
I think that would probably just maybe just turn me off a little bit if I get into my honeymoon suite and my wife brings me a helmet. Either that, or it would turn me incredibly on and be like, yeah.
What if it was a
Fucking crazy?
Yeah, I don't know.
You never know. I mean, I think we were both wearing them because we knew we'd be butting heads.
Oh, you're doing it wrong then.
Literally and
Wrong
figuratively.
part, wrong ends.
Yeah. Well, we can get on to business here. Kirk, I believe we have some feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have angry listener feedback this time?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, we got anger to send back his way, I'm sure.
Yeah, this
Lots of it
comes
today.
from Peter Legride, and the subject matter from his email is completely unwarranted and unnecessarily angry listener feedback. And I should note that he misspelled unwarranted. He bastardized.
Shame.
Actually. So
There
Shame.
goes his credibility.
yeah, so right there, take this with a grain of salt. Peter writes, did you guys fucking decide to quit using the goddamn quack? I heard Derek's F-bomb slip through. Were you too busy playing grab-ass to quack that shit out? I know it's summer and all, but dicks on a stick, guys. Get it together. I haven't gotten a quack fix in far too fucking long. Hashtag YOLO, I guess. Looking forward to your next show.
Yeah.
Well, I'm of the generation where I don't drop F-bombs and things without a cause, so I hope that most of that will be quacked out.
We let a few slip through.
Yeah.
YOLO?
Yeah, seriously, are you 12?
Jesus Christ.
Are you like some 16-year-old girl wearing your Uggs?
The use of the hashtag YOLO was unwarranted, Peter.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hash browns.
Well, do you have anything to say in response to him, Kirk?
Well,
Insult
how
generator.
about a communist cheese cactus?
You're a communist cheese cactus.
Or a curd-sucking cooch cobbler.
The triple C.
Yeah, there it is. The
Insult generator.
Yeah, it's been at least 5 or 6 episodes since that's reared its ugly head.
Yeah, can't get too much of that.
No, we can't. Oh.
So,
Yeah. Anything else been going on, guys? We've had some crazy shit go down in the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Like a dam breaking and...
let's talk about that crap up there at Quesnel Lake.
Yeah, let's do that.
Up in Canada, BC.
Because I know our good friend Dave Henry is very fond of that place.
Oh, I mean, it's a gorgeous area. It's headwaters to the Fraser River, not the Fraser.
Yeah, the Fraser, very significant river for
Yeah.
BC. For those who don't know, I mean that is a very, very large system.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard about it by now, you've been living under a rock. But
Right.
the earthen wall of a tailing pond gave way, and a shit ton of nasty stuff.
Yeah,
Spilled
mercury, arsenic, other heavy metals and chemicals and everything. They're holding those tailing ponds, and this is really where the whole anti-pebble mine things come from. This is what they're trying to prevent because this happens, and it pretty much always happens. But Pebble Mine, of course, is trying to say, this time it's going to be different.
Yeah, right.
But it's not. This is exactly what would happen.
I'm not any kind of an authority on this or any other subject matter.
I am. I have read a lot of internets. So,
Well, one of the things that I read was that despite the fact that these earthen ponds are going to breach eventually, it's just what happens. What do they do with that stuff? Let's say the pond lasts forever. That stuff's going to stay in there forever. There's no way to get rid of the mining tailings.
they could farm their Atlantic salmon in there.
Yeah. Well,
You could just kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
yeah.
Get them out of the open water. Get them in the tailing
I thought you
ponds.
said you've been reading up. Salmon are not birds.
Oh, wait.
Now I'm,
But the birds would die eventually, though, because of eating the salmon. So,
Correct.
I get you. That's legit.
Yep.
yeah. I mean, extraction is a terrible thing to begin with because it just comes at too high of a cost.
Yeah. So you hear about us talk anti-mine, keeping them out of our rivers and stuff in here quite a bit, but this is exactly the reason, because this is kind of what's at stake, and losing salmon runs over that is not worth it.
And I think what's concerning, too, is that as this gets discussed and people that seem to want to have some sort of authority on it, at least on the pro-mining side of it, really show how stupid they are. It's
Not pulling any punches.
It's just too easy.
Yep.
I mean, in an online discussion, this guy that he's a student up at a university, or do they call them universities in Canada? I don't know. Colleges, universities, whatever.
Institutions of higher education.
Says he is a student of an institution of higher learning and a college of forestry, and that this is really not that big of a deal. This is what happens in nature. So just everybody should just relax, and it'll go away.
Yeah.
And he's being taught this in school.
In Canada, I actually believe that at this point. Kind of seeing how Canada seems to be flinging itself in that direction, I believe that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one can argue that our society has demanded the metals that must be extracted from the earth. I mean, we've basically set ourselves up in a existence where we require all of those things to sustain the lifestyle that we've become accustomed to. Mm-hmm. Is mining, does it always just happen in beautiful remote areas that happen to be headwaters?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently.
Yeah.
That is a recurring theme that we kind of discuss, is why in those places.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of their remoteness to begin with. But you can't discard the fact that that's the place where that fish need to go to sustain themselves. So
you're always going to be fighting against the attitude of a fish is a fish. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's just a fish.
Yeah.
And that's your general person that just is apathetic towards these things. That's their attitude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about, okay, fish, but what do fish do as far as feeding the ecosystem. Everything. The forest relies on the biomass. Right. Animals, critters,
it's that thing where, you hear people mention if it was a panda, would it be any different? And absolutely, because they can see that. They can walk up to a cage and see that. They can go out in the wild and see a bear. Or, they can see these things. They're cute, they're cuddly, whatever. But with a fish, you could have a run of hundreds of thousands or millions of fish, and these people will never see a one of them. So to them, it's just a fish is an invisible thing that lives under the water and has no effect outside of that.
Yeah, but a salmon doesn't eat your face off like a panda would.
No, a panda would rip your face clean off. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Pandas are crazy.
Well, facts should come at a cost, and it shouldn't be cheap.
Right.
So, and what I mean by that is that you can't manufacture just things and make people believe that they're true if they have no basis in reality. So,
are you trying to say that pandas don't actually rip people's faces off?
I think he was not referring to that.
Not referring to the pandas ripping off people's faces. Although, I mean, I've never seen it happen, but I imagine that it probably has.
Oh.
So taking a leap of faith that, yes, a panda could rip off a person's face.
Okay.
Probably happened more in their native environment over in China, but not so much over here. You don't see a lot of pandas.
I wonder if there are any pandas on the staff of that movie Face Off with Travolta and
Face Off.
Remember that one?
I think it was Kung Fu Panda.
No, that was Face Off.
Oh.
Now
I'm confused.
Whatever. Is it already hot in here? Probably left over from yesterday.
Open that damn window.
No, I don't want to.
Get some ambient.
Expose us to the dangerous air from all the fires in the area?
Yeah, yesterday here in Duval, we were well over 100 degrees. And for those of you in southern climates that are like, yeah, so whatever, air conditioning is not exactly common here outside of a vehicle. So when you're in your house, you're dealt with, you pretty much have a bunch of fans that push the hot air around. That's about it. So it's been a miserable couple days here.
It was hotter than a fritter yesterday.
Indeed, it was. I actually, by about 6 or 7 last night, I was feeling dizzy and sick and lost my appetite and was sticking to every chair that I sat in. Kind of sticking to this one as it is, but and today's not even nearly as hot. It's kind of raining and nice.
I see yonder hopper over there attached to your Allen fly fishing rod.
Indeed. Well, that's from our trip that we took a week and a half ago.
That pattern has been working pretty well.
Indeed. That was a good trip.
This one?
Of course, the three of us and another friend went trout fishing nearby, and these guys take me on a trout trip. Well, we all went on a trout trip together, and of course, I still catch a hatchery steelhead. That was my one real catch of the day.
Yeah, but there's rainbow trouts much bigger than that thing.
Yeah, by hatchery steelhead, I mean, it actually, we talked a couple months ago, probably February, I think, about a quote-unquote break-in that happened at the local hatchery where somebody released 25,000 steelhead smolts. Well, there are now 24,999 of them.
24,992, because I spoke with a guy the other day at the put in.
Oh, he's taking a few himself?
He was there with his son, and he was like, "You guys catching them steelheads in here?" I said, "No." "Well, we caught one last week." He goes, "Well, I caught 5 yesterday." I said, "You kill him?" "Why would I kill him?" Yeah, so I told him that he should kill him, and he didn't get it.
No, most people don't.
Which kind of blew my mind as well, because you get
Yeah, I thought because Derek and Kirk were in the other boat, and I landed this probably 12-inch trout, and then looked in and saw it was clipped, and I was, "Hey guys, it's clipped," and of course said, "Kill it," but I think it would have been a lot funnier if I took it out of the net and whacked it without telling you guys. You just see me in the other boat just whacking a trout.
I don't want to see you ever in another boat whacking anything.
Oh. Well, speaking of whacking it, should we get to our interview?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Who are we talking to today?
Well, segue. Today we're talking to the guys. We got the guys from Catch Snap Release who did the recent video on the hoot owl closure on the Truckee River and nearby streams in California, Nevada. So low water, drought, dying fish. That's what's going on.
This is an important issue at this time of the year everywhere.
Yes, and this is an extreme case, but it's one that no matter where you live, pay attention to water temperatures, water flows, and stuff when you're fishing, because there are times where fishing is open but not necessarily okay. So, yeah.
What are the water temps registering daytime highs over in the Yakima right now, Derek?
Low to mid 60s. So they're warm. So
all right.
I've been on the water at sunup every day trying to get some of that low water. So,
well,
the cooler water.
How about we make this happen? Let's go to a break, and we'll be right back with our interview.
Okay, then.
All right.
And we're back.
No, we're not.
This is Derek, and on behalf of Stream Tech Boats, I want to talk to you about 3 factors that I consider really important when you're choosing a drift boat, and that's safety, fun, and performance. These are the safest drift boats around to float out of. They're fun to row, and from a performance standpoint, if you're a professional on the water, all 3 of these factors are important. So let's take a second to hear from the man who designed the boat himself.
I tried pretty much everything, that just none of them were really doing what I wanted. So we set out to design a boat. I'd call it the one boat that would maneuver like the hard boats, that would go in the really rough places, that would float high, that would have all the amenities that come on a hard boat with anchor systems and good leaning, a very nice flat floor that you can inflate hard, that you can stand on, no bolts, no nuts, no pins, no clips, nothing to put it together. For the reasons that it's so good for fishing, it got this rocker, and so it pivots quickly, and it slides out on the foam pile when you come off big drops. That rocker just climbs right out on the foam pile. A total game changer.
So there you have it. My recommendation, Link's words. Look for us at www.streamtechboats.com. Call Link directly. He'll answer that phone, and he'll get you on your way towards the best drift boat on the market.
Now back to the open fly.
And we're back.
Thanks, Kirk.
I just like to say that.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, we got Doug Oulette and Donald Zimmerman down in. Are you guys both in Nevada or California, or yes?
Both in Nevada.
Both in Nevada. Awesome. So you guys are in the Reno area?
Yes.
Ish?
Correct.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
Well, Donald and Doug have been involved in the Hoot Owl closure on the, it's the Truckee system, correct? No? Silence?
Don and Doug?
Yeah, you there?
Did we lose Doug?
I know there. I think
Just for a second. Yeah, you lost him for a second.
Okay.
I'm
So
back.
what river system in particular is this closure affecting?
It's the Tahoe watershed from Lake Tahoe to Pyramid Lake, and it's the Truckee River. Mm-hmm. And the Truckee River had some reduced flows recently, and that, along with the high air temperatures, the water temperatures came up, and Donald Zimmerman started a Hoot Owl voluntary closure to where we'll fish until about 11 o'clock or noon during hot days.
So those that might not know, can you define what Hoot Owl means in this instance?
Well,
Sure,
the
Hoot Owl closure is
one at a time,
yeah,
jeez.
Remember, we can't see each other.
Go ahead, Donald.
No, you
A Hoot Owl closure is something that's common in Montana. When water temps hit a certain high point, usually between 68 and 70 degrees, a few days in a row, the local governing agencies will put into effect a Hoot Owl closure, which basically says you don't fish from around midday to midnight. So the only time you'd be on the water is in the mornings when the water is cooler. Montana has probably a better system in place in terms of getting this sort of thing rolled out and having it be more official and enforcing a closure. Whereas here, it's not really common. There's no history of that here in the watershed. So we've tried to get a voluntary closure in effect. Fish and Game are supportive of the closure, but they can't enforce it because to get it on the books, it would take months in advance to plan for it. And we're trying to react to the current situation.
So it's just kind of been leading up to this over the last couple of years, hasn't it? The drought just keeps getting worse and everything, or has this just been this year that's been this bad?
No, it's been pretty bad as far as precipitation. We've had several drought years in a row stacked up. We had a huge winter a couple years ago where they almost broke records up at Squaw Valley, where the Winter Olympics were held several years ago. But other than that one peak year, it's been pretty much drought consistently, and so it's the stacking effect that's really putting us in a bad place now.
I'd like to propose that a formal name change, Squaw Valley, is insulting.
It's Pike Minnow Valley.
Pike Minnow Valley. Question is,
I'll pass that along.
is the Truckee controlled by dam flows?
The Truckee is fed by Lake Tahoe. Yeah, the Truckee's fed by Lake Tahoe, and it's considered a freestone stream as opposed to a tail out because it's a natural flow from Lake Tahoe. It's also fed by a couple of reservoirs, Stampede, Boca, which the Little Truckee comes in as a tributary, Bronco Creek, Trout Creek. There's some smaller creeks, one in Hunter Lake Creek in Nevada. So there are some other tributaries that feed into it. But Nevada is the driest state in the union, and again, the drought's been going on for quite a while. They could have controlled a little bit better. They had a federal mandate of 400 to 500 CFS released for the last 3 years, which was not normal, and probably had they made it maybe 350, we'd probably still have another year or two with water, but now it's coming to the end of the resource.
What's going on over there?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Get a little concert in the back there.
Apparently.
Hey, Doug, you guide in the area, correct?
Yeah, I do.
So a little bit earlier you mentioned that Montana's been taking the lead on this issue and maybe even has a better infrastructure, or maybe even it's the guide and the outfitter population that drives this. But what's different about California from Montana in terms of getting this type of this hoot owl closure enacted?
Well, probably experience. California and Nevada probably hasn't had the situations they've had in Montana, with low water and, warm water temps. It's something we had to bring to their attention. Nevada especially, there's not a lot of organizations, to protect things here. It was tough to get a trophy trout section established on the Truckee. We were the first ones to do that years ago. But it's just a matter of probably experience. They have a lot more resources up there. Their fisheries financially are probably, they rely on that more for their economy than we do here. Mm-hmm. And we've been just behind the eight ball kind of compared to Montana on that.
So since most of this is going to fall on probably the guides and the outfitters and also the fishing public to self-control themselves in terms of the situation, in kind of basic language, what is the issue with high water temps and why that fishing should be curtailed during those times?
Well, the comfortable range for trout usually is around 55 degrees. Anything more than 65 plus, especially high 60, 68, it puts a lot of stress on the fish. They need more oxygen. They build up lactic acid type issues. What we are trying to tell people is just fish earlier in the day, fight the fish a lot stronger. Most people when they hook a fish, especially a large animal, they take too long to get the fish in. So we like to put pressure on them, use a little bit heavier, tippet type thing, and release them. Keep them in the water as long as possible. If someone wants to take a photo, have the camera ready. If you want to take a grip and grin, lift, click, and put the fish right back in as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Donald made a great video. He makes some great videos, and one of them was on the hoot owl closure, mm-hmm. and we demonstrated that.
Catch, snap, release, perhaps?
Catch, snap, and release.
Yeah, very good. He does a great job.
See, we did our homework.
So, yeah, you guys are good.
So this issue is kind of similar. If you have a spring spawn for the trout in your water, it's generally as a rule, you shouldn't fish over a red. You got to be careful of not walking through a red. Yep. Do you think this is an issue that's going to be as easy for people to adhere to, or this is the time of the year when most people actually do their fishing. So asking people to voluntarily restrict their fishing activity to the morning time, do you think that's going to be a tougher battle to fight, or do you think fishermen are going to adhere to this?
Well, I would say at least on the Nevada side, most of the guys on the river are fly fishing guys, as opposed to, guys throwing bait. And as you guys know, there's a pretty strong conservation ethic amongst fly fishermen. And so I think, initially, from what we've seen in the last few weeks, there are a lot fewer heads on the river in general. And I think that's due to a lot of the heavy lifting that the community's done, passing around the video on social media and that sort of thing. Literally every person I talk to in the fly fishing community, regardless of whether I've met them before or not, says that they've seen the video, they think it's a great idea, they understand the concept, and they're passing it on. So I think we've gotten pretty good, penetration as far as people hearing the message and understanding the message and wanting to jump on board.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I found out about the video through one of Chuck Reagan's posts, so that's a pretty good outlet to get the word out.
He's great.
Yeah, do you fish with him?
I haven't. I've got good buddies here. The guys from When the Line Goes Tight, fished with them recently on the California side, and he's been super encouraging. It's good to see a guy that has such a big platform that cares about conservation to help spread the word.
Those that don't know, he's a musician, and he's a good one. And it's been pretty cool to see him get the word out about this, somebody with that kind of platform. In fact, I sent him that message and told him that I think that's really cool to see somebody with his reach, using it for conservation. So props to Chuck Reagan.
Yeah, it's always amazing.
Absolutely.
It's always amazing when you find out the reach potential once you post something up onto the internet. I mean, I was using the search terms Hooters and actually found your video that way. So.
How many
restaurant
did you have to get through?
I was looking for the address of the local restaurant.
Maybe they should be a T-shirt.
Yeah, right. You could get Hooters restaurants to sponsor the Hoot Owl restriction. That's a good PR campaign right there.
Anyway, you guys were going to say something probably.
Everybody.
Once again, I bring a lot of value to the show.
And he's asking the hard-hitting questions.
I was going to add, on the Chuck Reagan issue, I heard Bono from U2 say one time that celebrity is a currency and you have to decide how to spend it. And so when you see a guy like Chuck Reagan helping with the conservation efforts, it's just really encouraging that he's willing to jump in like that.
Yeah, and I've been a fan of his for some time, just as a musician and just him as a person. So it's cool to see even, I haven't seen him until recently, when he's been posting a lot more about fishing, to see how he is about the conservation stuff. So mad props there. I wish there were more like him doing that.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we use our celebrity status for that, but, we don't pat ourselves on the back too much. And we got a famous author here and the Orvis Guide of the Year, so we're big deals here.
In this office. Right here.
We got. Yeah. So
in the larger context of this issue, I mean, generally speaking, Lake Tahoe is known as a fairly clean and cold system. What is it specifically about? Is it the lack of water in general that's coming out of it that's causing this, or are there other issues? Is water being diverted for farming, for agriculture, for keeping grasses green, or what are some of the other issues that are causing this?
Yeah, there's a couple other things that are involved. Agriculture is one of them. The Newlands Project from the early 1900s, that's a project to diverse water, the lower section of water from the Truckee River to Fallon, Nevada, for agriculture. Pyramid Lake, they need their allocations also for the Kiwi and the cutthroat program they have there. There's a lot of water rights, and like most places, they usually, cut it real thin. Not to say that they oversell water rights, which they do, but we're not going to say that. But, there's just not enough to go around, so everybody wants a piece of the pie. We need a bigger pie. And the problem is the snowpack. So we're dependent on nature to, give us the snow in the water, and that doesn't always happen. Now, as far as low water temperature levels now with the CFS, they knew 3 years ago that this day would come, so they already had it penciled out. I called the water master 2.5 years ago, for instance, when the water was raging at, for us, big at 500 to 600 CFS, when normally it'd be about 270. At first, I didn't get much response until I told him I had documented 6 years of water flows, with fish and where I got them. Then he opened up and he told me what was happening. So I knew 2.5 years ago that this was going to happen at this time, had we not gotten rain last year or snow. Snow being much better than the rain. There's just a lot of water rights. Things are diverted. When you retire, you need to save your money and allocate it slowly through the years so you have money when you're real old. Well, in this case, they just kind of let it all go. And if they were retired, they'd probably be looking for a new job because no more resources.
Welcome to Walmart.
And, tough deal. But the rivers right now, I must say, it's flowing right now, not much lower than it would have 4 or 5 years ago before the federal mandate of the 400 to 500 CFS at FARAT. So, there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions, but what we're looking at now is there's nothing left in the tank, so the reservoirs are low now. The Tahoe rim is going, right to the edge. Tahoe's low. They could, if they wanted to, maintain the river by pumping some water out of Tahoe, which they've done in the past. It's up to them. If they want to save the fishery and the resource, then they could do it if they wanted to. So
we've had some guests on the show that are prominent in both the fly fishing scene as well as skiing. Shane is the one who comes to mind first. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten any traction or had any traction in agreement with the ski areas in the area that are using water in the wintertime to put snow onto the hills, or is that some sacred ground?
I think that's sacred ground for several reasons. One, this area is so driven by recreation anyway. And as far as the summer goes, they're not pumping those machines right now. Mm-hmm. So as we get closer into late fall, early winter, it's always kind of a bit of a rat race to see which mountain is going to open up first. And some of the guys try and hedge their bets by turning on those machines a little earlier than the first storm hits. Mm-hmm. But we won't really have a clear picture of those effects until we get a little later in the year.
To be, I guess, more succinct, what I was asking was, is the ski industry there in the Tahoe area on board with helping to keep flows at a sustainable level, or do you have advocates there with the industry, or do you have foes? Or can you answer that
I would
question?
say I think that. Yeah, I think the jury's still out, honestly, because again, this is really the first time we've ever tried to attempt something like this hoot out closure. Gotcha. And so as we head into ski season, there's going to be definitely some conversations and talk about water usage and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I think the main thing that we're trying to focus on is that guys that are on the river understand that if you're practicing catch and release, and that's your thing, then fishing the afternoons right now is just not an option, because you're going to catch a fish and you're going to release it, and 5 minutes later it's going to be dead on a bank someplace. Mm-hmm. So we're focusing on that community.
Gotcha.
Aren't there fish showing up dead now, gill rot and things of that nature somewhere in the system? We saw an article this morning dealing with that.
Yeah, there's been a couple articles, and there's a couple of situations occurred. At Boca, they dropped the flows to 3 CFS, from, like 150 within a few hours. So there were some fish stranded, probably, I'd say about maybe 100 fish, some rainbows, some browns in there. That was an isolated situation. The state of Nevada Department of Wildlife for years has been doing fish salvages in the ditches, the canal ditches. This year we got the Verdi ditch, which hadn't been approached in about 4 or 5 years. We got some outstanding animals that we were able to put back in the river. But we've been doing those rescues for years. In 1992, the river dried up. And now with all the social media and all the attention and news gets out just instantaneous, now it's been brought to people's attention, the situation that we have. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, nobody would have known, it would have been done, and that's what happened before. Now, after the river dried up in 1992, we had some good water years just after that. And what I did is I ordered some of those Viber boxes from Charles Waterman in West Yellowstone, and we started planting rainbow, brown, cutthroat eggs back in the river. And we did this for about 15 years. And it really established a great wild fishery. Now, the fact is that rainbows are not native to the system, and neither are browns. The same as anywhere in Montana. In Montana, rainbows and browns are not native. The cutthroats are, just like here. So, we really, with the Viberbox program, really established a great fishery over the years, and it takes about 7 years to get that back in order. And if you've seen some of the photographs on our website, you'll see some big animals. We get browns up to 30 inches, rainbows over to 2 feet long. Pyramid Lake, Nevada has the largest cutthroat in the world. So we have a big fish neighborhood, and all we need is the water flows. If we have the water flows, nature takes care of it.
What species of cutthroat is that?
We have 2 strains of cutthroat at Pyramid. There's the original from before John Fremont and all that happened in the early 1844. We have the Pilot Peak strain, which has been reintroduced after being basically extinct from the lake. They were found up in northern Nevada, Utah border. It was in Utah, and they reintroduced them about 8 or 9 years ago, and now they're over 20 pounds. And they're the original Lahontan cutthroats, the giant cutthroats. It's like Jurassic Park kind of. And then the summit fish, that's a different strain of cutthroat that has been kind of hybridized from a couple different places, Walker Lake, Summit Lake, Nevada. So there's a different gene pool there, but they're getting up well over 10 pounds, up to the 15-pound range also. So in 2007, for instance, I was in Denver at a pro staff meeting, and for a fly fishing pro staff meeting, and everybody had a portfolio of where they were from, what the kind of fishing that was there. So when everybody said their little thing, and when I stood up, one of the guys kind of laughed and said, "Oh, Nevada, is there any water in Nevada?" And I said, "Well, I'm from Nevada," and I showed them the portfolio. And these guys just totally freaked out. They couldn't believe it. Their jaws dropped. They saw these gigantic 20-pound cutthroat. They saw these 30-inch browns coming out of the river, 26-inch rainbows, full-bodied fish, guys. I mean, these aren't skinny cigars. These are big, heavy fish. And there's a lot of crawfish in the Truckee system. So that's one of their main food sources, the crawdads, the other fish. Our insect hatches aren't nearly as prolific as they would be in other trout streams, but we do have like PMDs, blueing olives, stuff like that. Our best dry fly fishing is in February, in the wintertime with bluing olives. Most of it's nymphing, though. Probably like 90% or more is nymphing in the river with like a small crawfish, caddis. We have caddis, PMDs, green drakes once in a while, March browns. So, but we don't have the prolific hatches that they would say, like on the Madison or the Big Hole or something, Missouri, where they're just, clouds of insects. We usually don't have that, but we have huge, big, heavy fish.
We have like no insects here.
we turn out to be too instructional on the show, if at all. But
I'm going to edit that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And since the skill level of the fishermen we have on the show varies from from no experience at all to people that are experienced, if you're going out in the morning to fish in a situation where you have hoot owl restrictions, not the specific rock or the specific run, but what types of water should people be fishing this time of year when water temperatures are a concern, and where should they not be fishing?
Well, when the water temperatures go up, fish need more oxygen, so they're going to be in more oxygenated water, more bubbles, more pocket water. The deep pocket water is usually where the fish are going to want to come to, for their comfort and safety. They're going to be forced into some of the deeper runs and pools, though, and they'll be right under the, some whitewater type thing in some of the deeper pools also. So the browns and the rainbows live in different water, kind of just like they would in most rivers. Browns can be just about anywhere. Rainbows, they like a prime lie, and they need a little bit more oxygen.
Gotcha.
So I've been reading that this winter we're looking at the pretty strong likelihood of an El Nino system. And I know that when an El Nino hits, the typically wet weather that the Pacific Northwest gets is a little bit farther south. So the state of California very often will see a lot more rain. In fact, oftentimes damaging coastal rain. If El Nino does show this winter, is that a good thing for the rivers up in your area, or is that mostly a coastal event? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I would say as a general statement, as long as the temperatures here in the Sierras can get down low enough to where those weather systems pushing through actually produce snow, then we should be in great shape. This last month here in town in Reno, Nevada, we've had some pretty peculiar afternoon thunderstorms. And I've heard a couple people make comments about like, oh, this has got to be helping you guys out, right? And the truth is that when you get that much water dumped in the middle of the 120 miles of the Truckee, it basically flushes the system out and stacks up at the termination in Pyramid Lake. Mm-hmm. So it's helpful for Pyramid Lake. If you're a guy at Pyramid Lake or part of the Native American management out there, you're excited about these thunderstorms. But what helps the Truckee River really is snowpack.
Right.
So as long as the temperatures can get down low enough when those storms come through to dump a bunch of snow in the Sierras, that's going to ensure a healthy year for the Truckee River next year.
So we can just hope that El Nino doesn't raise temperatures too much and you get a healthy snowpack this winter.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
From past history, can you speak to whether or not El Nino generally results in a good snowpack, or is it kind of a hit and miss thing?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I just know that a lot of times the precipitation in El Nino is associated with higher temperatures also. Mm-hmm. And so, again, the issue is getting snow on top of the mountain because that's what helps us out.
Awesome.
Now, along with that, guys, we had a situation years ago up in Incline Village at Lake Tahoe when we had a really big snowpack. We had a warm southern storm come in, like an El Nino, and it rained on top of the snow, caused major flooding. And it's called a Chinook, and that's something we kind of have to worry about, too.
Yeah, we get that several times a year here. Our river that the Open Fly Studios is upon here, the Snoqualmie, is very susceptible to that one. It happens pretty much like every November, December.
Pineapple Express, we also call it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
As Kirk said on a T-shirt sold at our local Chamber of Commerce, Duval, Washington, was it seasonal waterfront property?
Yeah,
because our river comes up and floods out all the local parks and everything.
Yeah, we like it. We sell waterfront property to Californians when they're up here.
Yeah,
and then good thing we're in Nevada now. See,
and what was it? 100-year floods happen every couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So we're very familiar with the rain on top of snow thing here. That can send a river up real quick.
It could be devastating.
Yeah. There's not much more to devastate here. It happens every year, so it's pretty much devastated everything it can, I think, at this point. Now we all just live up on the hill.
So why owls? Why are owls associated with this issue? Why wasn't it something else like instead of a hoot owl? Why wasn't it like
not a panda bear?
A sheep ba or a panda bear? Yeah.
I kind of wish it was a panda. It'd be easier to do the promotional materials.
See, exactly.
That's what we were saying before this whole segment when we got you guys on.
People
Panda
have a
bears.
thing for mammals, huh?
There's a mammalian bias.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I did pretty extensive research trying to nail down the origin of the hoot owl name, and again, because it originates in Montana, there's records going back several decades of them coining the term, but I never saw anything explicit that said this is why this particular owl got associated with that. I don't know if, Doug, you can speak to that.
No, I don't know anything about that, the history of that. So
let's make something up.
So
there's a bird called the tit, so we could have a tit closure.
Yeah,
no,
everybody
right,
likes
guys?
revisionist history.
right, guys.
I don't support that.
No. Oh. Okay, I'll stop.
Maybe a fish had teeth. Then...
Yeah.
Count me in.
All right. Okay. Well,
where can people find more information about this issue, not only specific to the Truckee, but in general? What's a good resource that you guys have used to find information about water temp restrictions and or fishing conditions?
Well, there's several things. One, I would say, as simple as it is, I think it's important for anglers to carry a thermometer with them because that's going to tell them the conditions they find themselves in at that moment. I think it's a good idea to pay attention to the USGS site and watch what flows are doing before you ever head out and try and hit the water for fly fishing. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot of guys in town that care about the river. We've built a bit of an alliance with the TruckeeRiverKeepers.com website, and we're trying to provide more just real hands-on practical information there about how, you handle fish and how you can keep an eye on conditions and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Have you considered a card people can put in their wallets that give people some tips on how to address the issue with other anglers? Because I know that's a big source of conflict when you have a conservation-minded angler on the water and they see somebody that's not adhering to those principles and approaching them. Someone's either going to approach an angler to educate them, and that can be taken in a couple different ways. Sometimes it's met with acceptance. Other times it's met with a big middle finger and
quit politicking in my water.
Quit telling me what to do.
Or a fist.
Or a fist, yeah. So any helpful hints on how to quickly and I guess easily educate people on when they should and when they shouldn't be fishing? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I would say as a guy that's only been in, I've been fishing my whole life, and I've been fishing the Truckee for most of that time, but I've only been fly fishing now for 3 or 4 years. And the reason why I made the switch and the reason why I care about conservation is because there were guys in the fly fishing community that with humility approached me and were willing to take the time to educate and to talk through those conversations. And it wasn't just a wagging of the finger, from up on the ridge. So I would say in general, the fly fishing community needs to work on that. I think they kind of have a reputation for being self-righteous and looking down on everybody else and that sort of thing. And I think I'm thankful there's a lot of guys in the community here that are conservation minded, but they're also willing to have those conversations in a way that's respectable, that's not condemning or arrogant. Doug, being a master guide locally, is one of those guys. He spent a lot of time talking with me over the years about the do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs, and the fact that there are things that are helpful for the fish, and those conversations are helpful. Mm-hmm. Throwing rocks in the river in front of a bait guy is not helpful. That's not going to start a helpful conversation. And as silly as that sounds, that's some of the antics that you see happening between different fishing communities.
Mm. Yeah, we all have to be ambassadors of our side of the sport.
What about guys like me that are all sides?
Well, yeah, I'm like that too. Tell you the truth, 45 years of fly fishing, but I always respect any technique as long as it's within the parameters of the law of another angler. So, if they want to, whatever they want to do with spinning gear, fly fishermen to dry fly to a salmon egg, if it's within the parameters of the law, it's really not our place to go approach someone. You'll ruin their day. If there's a guy with his son and they're just catching fish and having a good time, you don't want to ruin that whole day for the guy.
Yeah, no, they're just out there.
I like to, yeah. And there's always something to learn, too. You can learn from a little kid. The 8-year-old kid's got a big fish there. What'd you do? Hey, how'd you get the fish? I'm the first one to go up to approach people to ask them and be nice about it. There's really no place, for, animosity, especially in Nevada where, you can carry guns. So, you got to kind of watch it.
Oh, yeah. Same thing here.
Well, maybe that's where the Hooters comes back in, is that, if you were approached by a Hooters waitress on the river talking about hoot hour restrictions, you might change your tone a little bit quicker.
Well, I might have to have a little interview. So
Hey, there you go.
I'm all eyes.
Right on. Well,
Pixar didn't happen.
we can let you guys go here. Donald, can you let us know a little bit more about your video, how we can check that out and stuff? Because that's how I got in touch with you guys, was through that. So definitely want people to check that out.
Sure, it's up at both the TruckeeRiverKeepers.com and my blog, which is CatchSnapRelease.com. And honestly, if you just Google Truckee River Hoot Owl, it'll pop right up in a variety of places. We've been grateful for blogs and podcasts and different news outlets picking up the video all over the place in the last month. So it's been helpful to get the word out.
Have you guys been on other podcasts as well?
No, we've got a couple emails in from some other guys, and one of the more helpful ones, Chai Wolf, I believe it's pronounced. Mm-hmm. He's got an insane amount of traffic on his blog, about 200,000 unique visitors a month, and so he posted the video.
We should exploit that.
We saw traffic jump way up.
Nice.
I know some people at that organization.
Yeah.
Chai Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, our reach is pretty good, too. I can't claim hundreds of thousands of people, but, we do all right.
Maybe hundreds of people.
No, yeah, we I mean, when you guys reached out, we were super grateful. You guys are doing good stuff. We listened to a couple of your shows, and we're thankful that you guys were willing to jump in the studio and help us kind of spread the word, because as we talked about earlier, it is kind of time sensitive. So
yeah, and that's why we.
So yeah, man.
That's why I talked these guys, and we were on, and then we thought we were off, and then we found out we were on again. So we kind of pulled this together last minute, but still very glad we got to do it.
Yeah, when the show gets published later today, we'll use a lot of hashtags and things to get out there. Mm-hmm. But I want to make sure that I don't hashtag Nevada.
No, Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah, it's got to be Nevada, right?
Yeah,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about Doug? How do people find Doug if they want to go fishing with him?
Yeah, because it sounds like you got some very large fish to go.
Yeah. If you go on our the websites I have, CalvadaFlyFishing.com is the main hub, and then off of that branches 3 other websites: Truckee River Flyfishing.com, Pyramid Lake Guideservice.com, and then 5.ranch fly fishing. So the easiest way for people to find me is Truckee River Flyfishing.com. It's the easiest to remember, and they all link together, and you can see some of the animals that we get. They're very nice, very impressive.
Cool.
So, and thank you guys again for having us on.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All thanks go
really
to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up then. Guys, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and fade you out here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we're back.
We are back.
We didn't go anywhere, though.
True.
No.
Didn't.
We're just back to 3 of us.
It's amazing the fish, they will hold on, and they will strive to survive through just about everything that nature, man throws at them. If these fish can survive this low water, then we shouldn't be harassing them when the water temps get above a certain.
Yeah, because they're kind of pushing the limits of their survival traits, and if we push them over that, then it's gonna be that straw that breaks the camel's back, because they can hang on their own, but they're not really set up to be hanging on by a thread and then fight for their lives with a hook through their mouth and then picked up and
blast of lactic acid through their body and boom, they're done.
Well, it just means that you're using the right equipment. So you don't want to go out there undergunned. If you're typically using a 5-weight, then
take a 10-weight. Don't take shit from a brown.
Right. Maybe notch it up to a 6. A long distance release right this time of the year is a really, really good thing. Keep them wet. Keep the fish in the water. I mean, when the water temperatures get up like this, for me, I don't take fish out of the water. No. So there's easy things you can do to help survival rates. Play them fast. Keep them wet. Let them go.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's 115 degrees outside, the last thing you're going to want to do is go run a mile. Mm-hmm. So the fish are the same way.
I don't run at all anyway.
No,
so
I did yesterday.
Screw that.
It was a bad decision. I was sick for the rest of the day.
Yeah, there you go.
It was way too hot for that.
Ain't nobody got time for running.
No. Look at this awesome body I have.
Maybe it's the shirtless,
the sleeveless shirt. Yeah, it's my old. Back when I used to ride a motorcycle, this was my badass sleeveless shirt I used to wear to look like.
The sun's not even out, so how come the guns are out?
I don't know, man. It's my badass shirt.
I got to get some ink.
Yeah, I'm getting some ink too. Yeah.
All right, you guys gonna match me? Put on the sleeve tattoos? And
I'm not gonna go full sleeve.
No,
but
I'm gonna get an open fly logo
right on your thigh,
right above the waistline of my pants in the front,
right below the belly button.
Yeah,
little treasure trail map. Mm-hmm. Little hot spot. Call it a hot spot.
Shit, I mean, you designed that. I mean, you're designing your own tattoo. It's your own custom tattoo.
Sure.
It's got some meaning for you, right?
Yeah.
You remember that very important period of your life that you were part of this.
Yeah, that that fleeting period of time when we recorded 19 shows before it all went to hell. And
Show us your favorite Open Fly podcast tattoo.
Yes. We did,
there you go.
Yeah, Open Fly Pod. Yeah, anybody who gets an Open Fly podcast tattoo gets a free T-shirt and a sticker.
Even henna. Henna in the right place.
We'll
nice.
even send you a gift card to your nearest Hooters restaurant.
We'll come up with something. A couple stickers, things that the people want.
Yeah.
But let's keep it above the belt.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
that I was.
Well, there will be some exceptions.
Well, yes, but
I mean, a really good-looking dude. Oh, wait a minute.
not there's anything wrong with that. Evan. That's cool.
Oh man,
you are a fisherman of all angles. You are.
Yeah,
you are a gear fisherman and a fly fisherman and a center pinner. So
yep, he'll take browns or rainbows.
Oh boy, that was deep.
Huh.
Oh boy,
How about that?
It is hot in here.
It's getting hotter.
It got a little bit of rain coming up the valley today, so that was kind of
Oh,
nice.
was it?
We could use a little bit of a freshet. I
Could
think.
use more.
People are already talking about going out for steelhead.
Yeah, I think I might go do that tomorrow. I
Fall's
go skate some dries.
Fall's not that far away. That's not a bad technique right now.
No.
They're moving for skated muddlers and tarantulas and
Tarantulas.
yeah,
We don't have any big spiders in this part of the world.
Turks.
tarantulas.
It's a fly.
Oh, so it's not representative of
No,
the
it's
local.
not a hairy spider pattern.
Oh, well, that doesn't make any sense.
I lost a $200 fish yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
Tagged or something?
No.
Squawfish.
Took your rod with it.
No. The guest of mine said he read an article in Fly Fisherman magazine about the Yakima and how it touted the very beautiful and wild fish in the river, and that a 16-inch out of that river was quite the prize. So he came for the day prepared to hook that 16-inch fish, and
He was going to leave you a $200 tip.
at the throughout the day we caught a number of fish. I mean, I would guess the number was probably 20 in terms of hook sets and to the boat and released, and some very nice fish, some beautiful cutthroats and some nice rainbows. And
But nothing to 16 inches.
well, we got
15 3/4.
we got right above ringer, fishing that left-hand side, not the hot spot, that little location, but 20 yards up above the takeout there on the left-hand side, there's some nice overhanging trees and just a little bit of wind, and he threw this hopper pattern they have into it and rolled a huge fish. Touched it, had a rod bend for just a second, and then it was off. So we're packing up, and he handed me a check with the tip on. He said, that this tip would have been $200 more if I had caught that big fish. I was like,
That's a dick thing to say. It wasn't your fault that he missed the hook set.
Can you quack out the reference to ringer so that people don't?
Sure.
Right. It's got to keep,
Yeah.
you can't be spot burning, Derek.
don't spot burn that one.
That's, yeah.
Nice. I have not been over onto the Yakima for a couple months. It's about time I go before the flip-flop happens. I generally like the fall best, but
Yeah.
Well, the sun's up fairly early, and so if you're on the water by 5:30, you're going to beat the sun up.
that means I have to go camp at the launch because I ain't getting up.
I'm doing that tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to go
Nice.
camp out and then be on the water really early tomorrow morning.
Got a client wanting to start early?
I'm pretty much directing it that way because before it gets too hot and before the water gets too warm. So
Understood. Yeah, I might get up and go skate some dries on some local water for the seagoing rainbows,
Oh, yes.
because they do eat dries, contrary to what many people believe.
Fish is a fish.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
are we all going to get out of this sauna?
Hot boxing the podcast.
Starting to
It is warm in here. It's starting to smell like.
Hot, sweaty mess.
I'm glad we didn't do this yesterday because it would have been way worse.
Yeah, we'd have had a hoot owl restriction.
Yeah, Hoot Owl podcast restriction.
Yeah.
And we're getting to that point now. It's nearing noon and it's getting warm in here, so we're going to have to do our ethical duty and cut this short.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can smell our sweat
Yeah,
through the speakers.
not so
Well, plus
fresh
Kirk
for
has
them.
to go and celebrate his 25th anniversary. What's the?
yeah.
What is the gift for 25?
Silver.
Silver.
Yeah. So I think
To get her a nice couple spoons.
I got a couple spoons and a fork,
Nice
things like that.
serving platter.
She's working today.
Oh, so it's important to her too, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
So you guys are both working. You're going to go home and go to your other job?
Until it gets too hot.
Yeah. Then you can turn on the fans and push some air around?
Yeah, like a hot fart blowing around. Just move that air.
Yeah.
Make sure you use your.
Then
helmets.
what's your strategy for when it gets too hot?
I just basically stop working about 2-3 o'clock.
Ride the hog down to the local watering hole, and we'll go cool off.
It's air cooled. That thing.
It won't work in
with that big 49.9 cc engine. That thing would just overheat in a heartbeat.
If you go all downhill, you're going to get a breeze.
Well, but I got to go uphill.
Just get ice water to go and just kind of pour it over the engine as you're going up the hill.
I can't find the engine. I know there's one there,
somewhere,
but I can't find it. Red Thunder.
Yeah, the Red Thunder. Cool. All right, guys. We'll see you later this month, I think.
Yeah, we got one at the end of August, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, this is going to be
wow, a 2-show month.
An interesting one. There's some important dates coming up for Pebble. I think September 19th is an important date on the Pebble landscape. So we're going to have a guest from the Bristol Bay Seafood Association. I think it was.
Oh, I like seafood.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that we've had that aspect of it just yet. So someone who's representing the actual commercial fishing side of the issue. So that should be quite interesting.
Yeah, bring it on.
There's going to be some important questions to ask, and maybe even we'll have a little bit more traction on it from there. So
yeah,
righto.
Anything we can do to help. Okay, guys, go home.
So we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yep, or in the next 5 minutes if you're downloading this a year from now.
Yeah.
Oh, time travelers.
Righto.
Cool. All right, guys, take it easy.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.